Welcome, guys. I'm Tokyo Paul live, and I'm with my friend William from Japan. How are you doing, William?
I'm great, Paul, and how are you?
Good, good. Guys, we have a great conversation, and we're gonna have a great chat today to get to know William and his experience and great life in Japan. William's based in Osaka. We have a nice background today, and the audio for today's video chat will be for the TokyoPaulLive podcast. And yeah, let's get started. Without further ado, William, first question: Where are you from?
I'm from the state of North Carolina, in the United States.
Nice. And yeah, how's growing up in North Carolina? Oh, it's East Coast. Nice.
It's very different than Japan. So I'm from a little town called Hendersonville, which is south of Asheville, which is interesting. Asheville's like a giant liberal mecca, but the surrounding area is very conservative. So I grew up kind of seeing both sides of like the really liberal and conservative side, but I'm from the deep South where people
Mm,
talk with a twang.
wow.
But yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed my childhood.
Nice. And so you got interested in Japan, I assume. How did you, like learn about Japan or got interested in Japan?
So of course I grew up as like an 80s kid. So Ninja Turtles and Karate Kid and Surf Ninjas and all that kind of stuff were really huge for me.
Yeah.
I've loved Japanese stuff, and I did some martial arts when I was younger.
Yep.
I went from a little age, I loved tech and building stuff, electronics, and all that kind of stuff. So I really thought as a child that in my future, I had several dreams, but towards high school time, I decided I wanted to be an engineer. And I just figured, oh, I'll end up in Germany or Japan is where I
Wow.
thought I would go. So,
Oh, wow. Well, were you while we have on the conversation with childhood, you're
mm,
interested in Ninja Turtles, me too.
mm.
Were you interested in like anime, manga, J-pop, or
So I actually remember when I was little on Sunday mornings.
yeah.
So like I said, I'm from the conservative Bible Belt. So before church on Sundays, Dragon Ball used to come
Oh,
on
no way.
like the UPN, which I now is WB now, but
Yeah, I remember WP.
so it used the original Dragon Ball, and I
Whoa.
really loved that. My uncle also did martial arts and loves Japan. My aunt studied Japanese in college,
Oh,
so
cool.
uh, there was always that influence of people that liked Asian culture, and I just kind of got into it through the good old. I actually have it right here, uh, Dragon Ball.
Oh my
So
God. You
um,
have the comic, cool. Goku.
yeah,
There you
I used to have about 1,000 volumes of manga,
go.
but I've had to cut back
Oh my
due
God.
to space restraints and
Yeah.
family. But no, I just probably Dragon Ball was the first one, and then toward high school, I guess Evangelion and like
Oh, you
Love
like that?
Hina, Cartoon Network was
Yeah.
big. So if it was on Cartoon Network, I watched. I didn't have internet, so I couldn't download anything. But yeah, I've always loved anime. So
Nice, nice. And from what I'm hearing, you study engineering or uh
yeah,
type of engineering?
so in college, in high school, I studied drafting, and
Whoa, that sounds
I took all the tests to do drafting, and then I decided I wanted to be an engineer. So I applied to two engineering universities in my state, and I got into the public ones, which is University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and I studied for the first 2 years general engineering. Everybody's together, and then I specified down into computer and electrical engineering, and then
wow.
eventually embedded systems and robot stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Did you? I'm just asking this because a lot of my
Hmm.
friends study Japanese too. Did you study Japanese at all, like in high school, college?
Um,
Well,
well, where I live is a lot of like Hispanics, Latinos, immigrant workers. So Spanish was always big, and I can understand Spanish. So I didn't want to take Spanish in high school. And
Oh,
because I thought, oh, I want to be an engineer, I studied German.
whoa.
And I did German for 2 years. And then the college I went to, you needed 3 years of a foreign language or pass a test. And
Hmm.
I failed the German test.
Hmm.
So they said you have to take a foreign language. And then I ended up studying Japanese at the university. So
Wow.
I actually I have a degree in math, or no, a degree in engineering, could have had a minor in math, and I have a minor in Japanese.
Oh, and you have a mic. Nice. Okay.
So
So yeah, so
yeah.
you know some Japanese, and
Hmm.
I do know, like, of course, you're here in Japan now,
Yeah.
based in Osaka.
Hmm.
How did you end up, going to Japan in the first time?
So I actually came to Japan with my now wife
Oh, okay.
when she went to my university. So
Cool.
I came to Japan and visited with her, and it was a lot of fun. That was in 2006, I think, or seven, and I came in the winter time for about a month,
Oh, wow.
and I decided, oh, I really would like to try to work here.
Yeah.
And when I graduated university in 2008, I had interviews with a couple of larger tech companies,
Yeah.
and uh, one of them's out on the West Coast, and they said, "We'd like you to come work." And I was like, "Cool,"
Yeah.
but I've applied to the JET program.
Oh,
And
nice.
uh, what would you think if I took a 1 year sabbatical and came later and worked on some robot stuff? And they said, no, we're not going to do that. And you need to go now if you want to go. And I got accepted on the JET program. And I
Oh,
thought, you know what? I can always be an engineer later. I want to go to Japan for 1 year. Now,
yeah.
14 years later,
Uh-huh.
1 year. And I came to Japan, and then I've just never left.
Nice. Wow. So, oh, I didn't know you're Jen. That's cool. So maybe if I could backtrack,
Hmm.
where did you first visit, like what city in Japan with your wife? And then now I'm
So
curious. Go ahead.
I first came to Japan was Osaka. Like
Oh, those
that's
are
my
cool.
first experience with Japan is Osaka. So we flew from Charlotte, where we went to school,
Yeah.
directly to Chicago, and then at that time you could fly from Chicago directly to Kansai. So
Oh,
we
wow.
came
KIX.
directly to Kansai Airport, and
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it was really nice. So
You didn't have any,
I've
yeah, go ahead.
I've been a Kansai boy like my whole time.
Oh, wow. The
Wow,
whole
I'm
time.
so curly today.
Oh, cool, cool. Wait, is curly a Kansai thing?
No, it's just my hair after a shower is super curly. It's
I
just I
see.
didn't notice that
Well,
it's showing up on the camera.
it looks
But
cool. It looks cool.
thanks.
And then like in Kansai, like you studied some Japanese. Did that help you when you first came, or did you have any like
Um,
cultural shocks or?
yeah. So when I first came, I remember it was winter time, and um I was doing stuff by myself or trying to, and I thought, oh, I've almost got a minor in Japanese. I'll be fine. And sure enough, I was completely wrong and ill prepared. Um,
What
I
happened?
remember I woke up at like 4 in the morning with jet lag, and I didn't want to bother anybody, so I didn't want to turn on the TV. And I went and sat in the dining room, and my wife's grandma woke up and noticed I was sitting there and started talking to me. And I
Oh,
just had no idea what she was saying, because she was talking kind of fast in the Kansai dialect as opposed to Kanto, or the like what's the normal dialect. And I just wasn't used to hearing an older person speak.
hmm,
So it's really different, the words they use in the pacing.
makes sense.
I'm really used to it now, but it was hard.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember I was walking down a Shotengai which is a shopping arcade street. And I walked up to a fruit vendor and they had these beautiful oranges. And I was just like, wow, these are so nice. And I've got like my little roll up disposable camera. And I'm like walking up to it. And out of the shadows in the back, I hear like kukai, kukai, which means like, do you want to eat it? And then a hand stuck out going like this. And I thought it was someone waving me off. But I didn't realize in Japan that this means like, come here.
Come here.
And so they're like, "Kochi oide, oide, oide." And I thought they were like telling me to leave,
Yeah.
but they were really just telling me like, hey, can you please, do you want to try these? They were like being really friendly. So I'm like running down the Shotengai away from like this 90-year-old fruit vendor lady.
Oh, wow.
And she's just trying to give me an orange. And then when I found out about later, it's like, oh, I could have just had the orange and been fine.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting. But sounds like you've definitely learned from that. And I mean, wow. Kansai people are quite friendly, aren't they?
yeah, I think Tokyo's image is so serious, but the image in Japan is Kansai and like Osaka in general is way more laid back. A majority of the comedians, come from Kansai, specifically Osaka or Kyoto. So people are much more jokey. They want to be friendly and like they're very personable. Like you'll get talked to. It's very similar to where I live, where like I'll be in a store and somebody might talk to me, or in the morning people say hello and good morning, and but they don't really do that in Tokyo. So
yeah, no, they don't. And you said you were a jet, so I was curious, like where did you get placed? How was your experience teaching English?
So like I said I'll go on jet,
Yep.
and at that time, my now wife was my girlfriend, and she had already moved Jack to Japan. She graduated from university, and I thought, what am I going to do? What if I get put in Hokkaido? What if I like go to Okinawa or some little island off the coast of Kyushu or something? And I got my placement, and it said Osaka.
Nice.
And she's from Osaka, so got very, very lucky. I think the year that I came, there was about 3,000 jets at that time. There were a lot that came, and 15 or 16 came to Osaka. And I was like one of those 15 out of 3,000.
Nice.
So I just got really lucky that I was in the same prefecture. So she lived in a different city in the prefecture, but I did 3 years in Osaka City.
Oh, wow.
And then I transferred because JET at that time was a maximum of 5 years, but Osaka City had a limit set at 3. And then I transferred to Izumi City, which is in the south. And I did another 2 years on the JET program in Izumi City.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So I did the full 5.
So full 5 years. And what years or grades did you teach?
So when I was a JET in Osaka, I primarily taught high school. I would do like one-shots to an elementary school, like if I didn't have classes at my high school, like a test day or entrance ceremony or something. But I actually worked at a technical high school. So like 600 boys all training to be engineers.
Wow. That's cool.
There was like 5 or 6 girls, but I never really had them in any classes. And then I taught at a sports intensive high school where every kid, like 1,000 kids, and they're all doing sports.
They're all athletes.
They're like, yeah, they're trying to become Olympians. So really serious school. I also taught at English intensive high schools where they had like several days of the week English only. And there were like 4 or 5 native English teachers there. So when I worked in Izumi City, I exclusively worked in elementary and middle school because the prefecture controls the high schools outside of the city. So I had to teach elementary and junior at that point. But uh, yeah, I've taught all ranges, special needs schools, primary schools. Uh, yeah, I did everything on the JET program.
That's cool. I'm guessing that because you're an engineer, I'm just thinking, what a great luck. Like you also taught at like a technical high school, and perhaps you guys spoke the same engineering language as well. Was that
Yeah, it
your
was.
favorite school or preference?
Yeah, I grew up loving machines. So the school had a mechanical course, an electrical course, and a computer course. And being that I'm a computer engineer, but I studied electrical stuff, I knew what they were studying, and my love of machines my whole life, I understood what the machine kids were learning. So I was definitely picked to go there. Um, so uh, after Jet finished, I actually came back to the city as a different role,
Yeah.
and I worked in Osaka City for like another 8 years, and I worked almost exclusively as the native English teacher at that engineering school.
Whoa, that's cool.
So I was there longer than most of the teachers and staff.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a good experience, and I think it also, 16 to 19-year-old boys can be a bit rambunctious, but you can't really see it in this. But I'm almost 2 meters tall. I'm like 100 kilos. I've got a big voice, so I could kind of overpower their high school boyishness.
Hmm.
So
Command respect.
yeah, but and the fact that I'm a like self-proclaimed otaku and I love anime and manga and Gundams, so I play all the same Keitai mobile games that they play.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
um, I can talk to them about, oh, what's happening in Monster Strike, or
Whoa.
what's happening in Puzzle Dragon. So they could connect with me on that aspect.
Oh,
Wow.
that sounds great. Like perfect fit, perfect match for a job. How's your Japanese, by the way? I know you're here for quite a while in Japan.
So I always get the Japanese jozu desu ne. Like your Japanese is good, but I
Okay.
think it's okay. I can conversate in Japanese. I passed into for
Oh,
the
nice.
Japanese language proficiency test 8 years ago, 9 years
Nice.
ago. Um, Actually, the first time I took it was the last year of the old style.
Ah,
So um,
that's great.
I failed by 2 points,
Oh wow.
and I didn't study. And then the next year the next go around, I took it and I passed it by the old standard. But at that one, you needed like, the new way is you need 19 points in each section.
Yep.
So I failed one section by like 5 points. So I had to like rework it so that I could pass the test. But I've had N2 for a long time. And I really should take N1, but I just don't have it in me right now.
That's impressive. And William, I'm curious, how did you meet your wife? I know you mentioned you met at university. Uh, love to hear the story if it's okay.
Yeah, so my university has a lot of Japanese exchange students.
Cool.
We're actually like a sister school and of like Oita, Obirin, and Gakushuin Daigaku, and so lots of Japanese students come. There's lots of students studying international business or that kind of thing. And it turns out that my wife finished graduating from her university in Japan, and her friend did the same. And her friend decided to come to the US and study. And so my wife said, you know what, I'd like to do that too. And she came. And so I met her at like an international kind of, my university had like a Japanese club. If you attended the club, you got extra points.
Oh,
Well, it just
cool.
so happened all the Japanese club people wanted to actually hang out with Japanese people. So um, one Japanese guy lived with another guy that had a house. So they would invite people, and I was just at a party and I met her, and the rest is history. It turns out that her on-campus housing was in my building, but in another section. So I would periodically see her, and then we just eventually started dating, and now here we are, like 20 years later.
Wow, that's amazing.
Uh,
Did you feel like, or do you even today, like U.S. culture, Japanese culture, um, did were there any, does it mesh well, or was it
yeah, I
very
mean,
easy going, or good match, or what was your experience?
I uh I think more what matches is that, like, our family beliefs are similar.
Hmm,
So like uh both of our parents work,
hmm,
and we're also really close with our grandparents. She's close with her grandparents. Like, um we have that going. Our parents all worked in similar fields also.
hmm,
So like economically we matched. So it wasn't like one person was giving up something or suddenly changing their lifestyle. So uh also her family is a pretty conservative family, and mine, being from the South, is also fairly conservative. So even though we're a more liberal family where we live, it's still conservative. So um of course there's been cultural clashes or things like that, but that's going to happen with any marriage, I guess. And then someone who's from the north in the US and someone who's from the south in the US are going to have culture classes. So um but there's definitely things there, like I don't I don't really care about time.
hmm.
uh that's like a really American thing, is that we're not really on time, but my wife really cares about time and has
Oh,
been.
has to be on time.
Yeah, like that's a Japanese thing. So uh she's been really diligent on like teaching me that, like, while I'm here, I really have to care. So
Hmm,
I'm trying to work on that myself.
nice,
Mm,
nice. And
mm,
while I know you, I know you have a
mm.
family, meaning kids.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't mind me asking, how do you, you know, do you speak? I've heard some parents, international couples and families speak the a Western person speaks English to their children, and then perhaps a Japanese person speaks Japanese only. How do you educate your kids?
So that's really hard because I have lots of friends in the States, right, that are Hispanic, Latino, and they can understand their parents, and some could speak, but others couldn't. And kids who are like forced to speak sometimes hated it.
Mm,
And in our city, like where we went to college, there was a Japanese school, and it was on the weekends, and it was like this academy, and Japanese kids or half Japanese kids had to go there and learn Japanese. And I've heard stories of
yep,
Chinese Americans that send their kids to Chinese language school,
that's me.
and it's never turned out good. Like, when, like, oh, I went to Taiwan and I spent the summer with my grandma and I learned more Chinese than going to Chinese school. Like, they did not like it. So I never wanted to be the dad that's like, you must speak English, only English. But I probably honestly use too much Japanese. Like I can go quite a while speaking Japanese. So there's several times that my wife has pointed out, like, hey, you could say that in English to
Uh,
help them. Or how about you try this? But uh, like I've been reading the Harry Potter books to them in English. We have like a little library of books, English and Japanese. I try to get them to watch Netflix or YouTube or Amazon or whatever Prime in English if they
in English.
can. Um, like Full House has been a big hit recently, partly because my wife watched it when she was a little girl here, and it was like the TGIF goodness
Mm,
back in the day.
yes.
Um, but uh, I don't I've taught kids that were double. I don't like to say half. I like to say double because half implies that you're not completely something, whereas the kids are double cultured. They are American and Japanese. So
Hmm.
kids who are double, they are forced into this other, and I don't think it ever turns out really good. So I've tried to speak more English recently, and I'll catch myself talking in Japanese and then I'll re-say it in English. Um, but uh, yeah, I don't know. This summer we went back for a couple weeks to America, and I noticed my kids' level like jump up.
Ah,
So
the immersion.
um, yeah, it's just their mom wasn't there. I tried to speak English. My brothers and my parents, my grandparents were there. Their cousins were there. So there was a lot more opportunity to hear it and use it. So um, I definitely have to be careful when talking about stuff like presents or plans because they'll go, "Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're buying this thing," because now they've tuned in. They know some of the words. So um, what we're really looking at now is getting them to like write
Ah,
because in Japanese schools they don't really focus on writing until like the 5th or 6th grade, and it's just ABCs. And then when they get to middle school, they start all over. So um, we really want them to be able to write because if they can read something and then reproduce it by hand, that's a valuable skill. So
nice. Wow. I appreciate you sharing. And
mm.
yeah, that sounds like uh, your kids are quite social. And yeah, so that sounds like great.
Yeah,
Um,
my
what?
kids have been to America a couple of times, and they have lots of friends here, but also a lot of other double kids or like half kids
Hmm.
here. So um, they have experience with other families that are speaking multiple languages. So
That I imagine helps with a lot of culture and as you mentioned, double with
mm,
exposure to culture probably expands the mind and helps keep the person open minded and yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then also know you as a YouTuber or making live streams and videos.
Mm.
If you don't mind, please let us know. Like found in Japan, William. What is your channel about? And yeah, what is the theme there?
Okay, so my channel is called Found in Japan, and Found in Japan is a YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter grouping where I go and I try to teach people or learn myself about things that are found in Japan. Um, I do a lot of shorts on things of like weird sodas, like a pineapple vinegar soda. I have a double apple something cream soda in the refrigerator. I have a box. Oh, I can
He's
get it.
about to show us an image. Is it the pineapple soda?
Nope. It's Let's see if I can get this out without.
William is searching for the
This is
box of snacks.
15 or 16 varieties of Kit Kat.
Oh wow.
So I have like
That's a big box.
melon, cantaloupe, and pudding, banana chocolate, rum raisin, salted lemon, cookies and cream. So I like to do a lot of snacks. Um, we mentioned earlier that I'm an engineer, so I like to learn how things are made. I want to get better at making videos so that I can teach other people how things are made. My hobby is cooking, so I'm really interested in exploring more about Japanese cuisine and what makes Japanese food washoku, which is Japanese food. So I really want to introduce people to those aspects of Japan and what can be found here.
That sounds cool. And yeah, guys, of course, we're going to try to premiere this video. So the people in the chat, like, I'll share a link. I'll link to William's YouTube channel, of course, Instagram, and
Mm.
yeah. What's the best place for people to check you out?
Um,
You have a
if
own place or?
if you're gonna go to one place, it would be youtube.com/found in Japan, one word. So
Thanks.
no
Nice.
spaces. So that's where you can find me.
Nice, nice. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today, William. Do you have any last tips or for anyone that wants to make a trip to Japan or even consider life in Japan past
Um,
Osaka?
I would definitely say that if you thought Japan is my dreamland and oh, I want to live there, definitely come and travel first. I've met a couple people who have just moved
Yep.
and it never turns out good. Uh, come spend a month or 3 months and see if you like it, and then uh, then you can decide if you want to stay. Uh, Definitely learn some Japanese. I know for Americans, we're like, oh, I'll learn some and my English, but it's definitely better to know some Japanese. Do I have a book?
William's about to
Uh,
recommend a Japanese book.
Learn, like, this book right here is one of the best books for learning kanji, in my opinion.
What's the title?
It's called Remembering the Kanji. It's
Remembering
uh,
kanji.
there's some like short digital versions online that don't do all the kanji, but um, it teaches you like stories to remember the kanji.
Hmm.
So it teaches you sometimes like the history from the Chinese of why that letter is written that way. But if you can learn those kanji, you can do that. I think that'll be really helpful. Knowing what exit is or how to get somewhere. What does this mean? It's the more Japanese you can show to Japanese people that you're trying to use, the more willing they'll be to help you in English. So Japanese people know English is hard. So when you try to learn Japanese, they're like, thank you. So definitely do that and you'll have a much better time.
Excellent point there, William. Also, passports such as American passport, if you can go straight on a tourist visa, I believe that lasts for about 3 months max, and that's where you can, yeah.
Yeah, I'm right now, I think 90 days is the maximum for an American passport.
Mm.
People from Australia and some other countries can get like working visas, travel holiday visa, I think. But yeah, you'd have to look that up with your local consulate and stuff. But it's definitely, I honestly can't imagine myself living anywhere else right now. I really love it here. This is where I live. This is my home. So I think in a couple years I've lived here longer than in America.
Oh
So
wow.
I moved here when I was 22. Yeah, and I'm 38. So I'm getting close.
Mm.
But
Wow. I
yeah.
almost want to say it sounds like you're turning Japanese.
Yeah, I've actually had people mention to me that I'm sometimes more Japanese than Japanese people.
Mm.
I like the shakuhachi, the Japanese traditional flute, and I do kendo. I've been doing kendo for 17 years.
Wow.
So um, I love that kind of stuff. I like calligraphy and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely, sometimes I do stuff and people are like, wow, you're so Japanese. I guess that's a good thing. So, but it's always good to try to fit in the culture you're living in. So,
Yeah, definitely, viewers. Check out Found in Japan Williams channel on YouTube. And as he mentioned, there's an Instagram where I'm sure he shows a lot of the Japanese culture, snacks, perhaps kendo. Yeah, get in touch. I'm sure he can answer a lot of questions for you. Yeah, anything from martial arts to Japanese to Osaka. Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks for your time today, William.
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was a great chat. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.